Happy Saturday, Risers. We hope you are having a phenomenal weekend. Saagar and I are back with some of our favorite moments from the week.
That's right. First up, we got host of New York Times The Argument podcast, Jane Cosin. She joins to discuss CPAC, explain why there wasn't very much policy talk. Let's take a listen.
CPAC is a very specific event.
Yes.
This is like if you go to like the Libertarian Party conference and there's the guy arguing that children should have heroin, this is a very specific event for a very specific audience. This is an audience that wants fan service, and they got that this weekend at CPAC. CPAC was not focused on policy because Trumpism, or the conceit of Trumpism, was never really focused on policy. What they wanted to hear was that Ted Cruz is going to shout about freedom. And the one person, I thought it was interesting that my colleague brought up that the one person who even referenced the debt was South Dakota Governor Kristi Noem, who very briefly said something about like an increase in national debt, and no one applauded.
Yeah, kind of says it all, doesn't it?
Yeah, it really does. I mean, look, what has happened is that CPAC turned into that Trump golden statue show, and there was nothing else going on there. And it's like I said, I almost would respect it if there were still true cons railing against the minimum wage, because at least that's something.
It's something.
But this is basically nothing, and that's essentially what happened. It was just pure, Trump fan service. And I saw like Mark Meadows being like, anyone in the future of the Republican Party, all their last names is Trump. I'm like, what are you doing?
Like, are you proud of that?
From Tea Party warrior to diminish to this, but there we go.
Next up, California Congressman Ro Khanna. He joined us to discuss the legality of Biden's Syrian airstrikes. Here's what he said.
Well, the airstrikes are illegal under both U.S. law and international law. There is no authorization of force to strike Syria. In fact, President Obama tried to get that authorization, and Congress refused to give it to him. So there's, in fact, precedent that there is a reverse signal from Congress. Second, there is no authorization to strike Iran. So the president, unless it was imminent defense, which there was no justification in this case, cannot take that action without coming to Congress. And then they invoke Article 51 of self-defense under international law, but that requires going to the United Nations. So this action simply didn't have legal basis.
He said it was illegal and it wasn't even close.
And he's right.
I'd actually kind of forgotten that Obama had gone to Congress and they said no, which I do think is a significant indication here that that's why they go around it and just pretend like they have justification to do whatever they want. It's very disturbing.
It's one of those things nobody even discusses. They're like, oh yeah, we just did airstrikes in Syria. And you're like, wait, Syria is a sovereign country, which is ruled by Bashar al-Assad. You don't have to like that. Which means, and look, the Assad regime theoretically could attack you, and I think they have fired at U.S. U.S. planes in the past, or missiles or something. I'm getting my history wrong, but it does matter. Like from an international perspective, of you're bombing somebody else's sovereign territory. Under our laws, Congress is supposed to sign off on that.
Yeah.
They also weren't bombing ISIS. There is an ISIS. Even that one is sketchy whenever it comes to the AUMF. But under that one, I think it's more justifiable. Here, you're striking Iranian-backed militias inside of Syria.
So you're actually fighting against ISIS.
Yes,
so you're like
we're also
weirdly
fighting.
helping
So you're
ISIS.
like, okay, so what is happening here? Again, which is that Congress is the one that needs to authorize these types of strikes happening in. What if a Syrian soldier gets killed? What's going to happen? An American bomb kills an Assad regime. Now, are we at war with Russia? With Syria? These are all questions nobody even wants anybody to bring up.
Indeed.
Yeah. Finally, we spoke with New York Assemblyman Ron Kim about his efforts to impeach Governor Andrew Cuomo following sexual harassment allegations against him, but more importantly, unreported nursing home deaths by his administration. Since this interview was recorded, Governor Cuomo said he has no plan to step down from his position, but here is what Mr. Kim had to say about what should happen to that governor after both controversies.
The credible allegations of sexual harassment made by these brave women coming forward show a clear pattern of Cuomo's abuse of power. And I believe the governor will be held accountable for sexual harassment. As far as the impeachment, there is a growing number of lawmakers every day calling on the governor to resign. Just today, I think we had a couple of other of my colleagues issue a statement this morning. We have seen enough of his predatory behaviors and abuse of power. But to be clear, a resignation does not equate to accountability. We still need to thoroughly investigate his actions of allowing top donors to write deadly policies like corporate immunity for nursing homes, and we must charge him for sexual harassment.
This guy has been focused on the right issues from the very beginning. And you know what? I think he makes a really good point that these things are all related in terms of abuse of power. The bullying, the sexual harassment, even the cover-up and like the just impunity that he thinks he can act with. All of these things are part and parcel of what has gone so wrong and what is so horrific to behold in that administration.
I completely agree.
That does it for us. We'll be back later today with the week that was in media screw-ups.
Hit the subscribe button. Don't miss any of our videos. Don't forget to like and share as well. Tomorrow we're going to be back for another round of #RisingQs. See you all then.
Have a good one, guys.